All right, today we're going to dive into something pretty incredible, the amazing, intricate network that literally holds our planet together. We're talking about the web of life. And our big focus? It's all about understanding biodiversity.
So, let me start by asking you something, and you're probably not going to see this one coming. Have you ever gone goose hunting? I know, it seems like a really random place to begin, right? But stick with me, because this one question, it's our doorway into a huge, fascinating environmental story. And that whole story, well, it kicks off in the massive wetlands of James Bay. You see, for many of the Cree people living there, the goose hunt isn't just a hobby. It's a tradition, something that's woven right into the fabric of their culture. And for us, it's the perfect place to start figuring out how everything in nature is connected.
I mean, just picture this. The James Bay lowlands are this unbelievably huge stretch of marsh and swamp. It's this incredible place where land and water just melt together, and it creates the perfect, and I mean perfect home for literally thousands and thousands of migrating geese and ducks. It's just a massive hub of life.
And that right there, that's a perfect example of what scientists call an ecosystem. You've got all the living things, what they call the biotic stuff, the geese, the plants, the fish, and then you have all the non-living or abiotic things, like the water, the mud, the air. An ecosystem is just where all of that stuff interacts in one big interconnected network.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. We've been focused on this one incredible spot, but the rules that keep the James Bay lowlands thriving, they're the exact same rules that apply to every single forest, every ocean, every desert on the entire planet. We're really starting to see what this intricate web of nature is all about. And how do we measure the strength of that web? Well, it comes down to one word: biodiversity. All it really means is how many different types of living things are in one place. And here's the key takeaway. The more variety you have, the more biodiversity, the healthier and stronger that system is. It makes sense, right? A web with tons of different threads is way harder to break than one with only a few. Now, I know biodiversity can sound kind of abstract, so let's bring it down to earth with something we all know: corn. Just look at all the different kinds. They have different colors, different tastes, they grow at different times, in different climates. And that variety isn't just cool to look at. It's the whole reason we can grow corn almost everywhere on Earth. That right there, that's the power of biodiversity in our own backyards.
And this connection we have to the variety of life, it goes way beyond just the practical stuff. It's also deeply spiritual. This quote here from the Assembly of First Nations is just so powerful. It really hits home that this web of life isn't just something we use. It's the very foundation of who we are. It gives us everything.
It really is like a web, where every single species is a single thread. And if you pull or break just one of those threads, poof, one type of fish disappears, or one kind of plant dies out. It sends vibrations through the whole system. It's like a ripple effect. It's a food web, where everybody is relying on everybody else to survive. So, what happens when those threads start to snap? What happens when the web itself starts to unravel? Well, that's where we have to talk about the serious threats that biodiversity is facing right now. Before we get into the threats, there's one more key idea we need to get our heads around: carrying capacity. Think of it like this. Every environment is like a bucket. It can only hold so much. There's only so much food, only so much water, only so much space. The carrying capacity is basically the fill line on that bucket. It's the absolute maximum number of a species that an environment can handle without starting to break down. And this brings us right back to our geese. Remember them? Well, the lesser snow goose population has absolutely exploded. It's a crazy story. They spend their winters down south, eating all the leftover grain in farm fields. It's like an all-you-can-eat buffet. So they've become super successful, but here's the problem. When they fly back north to the delicate tundra for the summer, there are just so many of them that they're literally tearing up the landscape, eating all the fragile plants. They have blown way past the tundra's carrying capacity. Now, that goose situation, it's a powerful story, but it's just one example. When you look at the big picture, human activity is behind four major threats to biodiversity all over the world. You've got pollution, which is just poisoning the air, water, and soil. Then there's habitat loss. We're literally paving over or cutting down the homes that species need to survive. Number 3 is invasive species, where we accidentally introduce a new plant or animal that just takes over and messes up the whole balance. And finally, the big one, climate change, which is changing the fundamental rules of the game for ecosystems everywhere. Okay, I know that all sounds pretty heavy, maybe even a little overwhelming, but it's not all bad news. There are people trying to find solutions. So let's shift gears and talk about a really interesting approach. What if tourism could actually help?
This idea has a name. It's called ecotourism. And the whole game changes. Instead of just showing up to consume a place, the focus is all about respect. Respect for the environment, respect for the local culture. The goal is to leave as small a footprint as humanly possible.
And you can really see the difference here. On one hand, you have traditional tourism. Think giant resorts plop down in the most beautiful spots, creating tons of waste, with the main focus being on cocktails by the pool. But on the other hand, you have ecotourism. It's all about appreciating nature, building things on a much smaller, eco-friendly scale, and doing things that actually connect you to the place, like kayaking down a river or biking through a forest. Costa Rica is probably the best known example of this. I mean, the country is just bursting with life, rainforests, volcanoes, you name it. And they made a really smart bet on ecotourism. The money that comes in helps them protect their land from, say, being clear-cut, and they can actually fund conservation projects. Now, is it a perfect solution? No, of course not. You've still got people flying in on planes, you've still got waste to deal with. It's complicated. And that word, complicated, is really the key here. In the real world, conservation is never simple, it's not black and white, it's almost always this incredibly delicate balancing act between what people need to make a living and what the environment needs to stay healthy.
Let's look at regulating the bear hunt up in northern Ontario. For some people, it's an important source of income from tourism. For others, it's a tradition. But the government has to walk this tightrope. How do you allow for that economic activity while making absolutely sure the bear population stays healthy and the ecosystem doesn't get thrown out of whack? There are no simple answers.
And this whole balancing act, it comes right down to the things we do for fun. Think about something as simple as wakeboarding on a lake. It's a blast, right? It brings money into local towns. But every boat is putting out emissions. The noise can scare away wildlife. So even our weekends are part of this equation. Every single choice has a ripple effect. Which really leaves us with one last big question to think about. From a weekend camping trip to that big vacation you've been saving for, every single thing we do is another tug on a thread in that massive web of life. So the question we have to leave with is this: what is the true cost of our time off?